It's a Tuesday, April 27th, and the time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Opposition Senator Caswell Franklin has described the government's latest effort to extend the state of emergency as totally illegal. The trade unionist contends that after government failed in its initial attempt to pass the legislation because it did not get the required minimum 16 votes in Parliament, it was unlawful for the resolution to be recommitted just minutes later. Friday's extraordinary sitting disrupted Parliament's usual Easter break in an attempt to extend the state of emergency for 5 months from April 27th to September 26. Opposition leader Bishop Joseph Atherley has publicly expressed his concern regarding the manner in which the resolution was passed. And in an interview with Barbados Today, Franklin maintained that it was unlawful for the resolution to be passed in the way that it was.
And in order to adhere for rules of debate, it says it shall be out of order to reflect on any vote of the House or attempt to reconsider any specific matter upon which the House has come to a conclusion during the current session, except upon a motion, a substantive motion, for rescission. So all that says is that if you vote on it already, you can't come again, unless you vote into repeal it or cancel it. And they're not doing that. What the government did, the government needed 16 votes to pass that. If it didn't have 16 votes, they didn't have 16 members in the House, the leader of government business should have noticed that and did not call the vote. Because having called the vote, it failed. And once the vote is failed, you can't come back.
President of the Democratic Labour Party, Villa Pisa, appears to have some work to do in order to convince the people of St. Lucie that she's the right representative for them. Some constituents expressed the view after the DLP leader announced on Sunday that she will contest the St. Lucie seat in the next general election. Pisa grew up in Northumberland, St. Lucie, but many residents told Barbados Today they were not familiar with her political career. Here's what some had to say.
I wish her good luck, and she tried to do what she got to do, because somebody got to do it. So, and politics is a dirty job.
You say you don't know her?
No, I can't. If I see her now walking here, I can't tell it's her. I don't know her. And I come from Crab Hill, and I understand she's from Crab Hill, or she got family in Crab Hill. Because the DePisas, I live there, and the DePisas live there. When I grew up in Crab Hill, my grandfather, my grandmother, and all of them from Crab Hill, and she's a St. Lucie woman, as I understand. So I don't have a problem with her coming and running, because it's not my business. So, you know, I just wish her good luck.
I watch both parties, and I analyze from both parties which is the best party to run the country. I don't think about myself, I think about running the country.
To be honest with you, I don't know her, never seen her my whole life. What do I just hear so? I don't know, just hear that's coming to run. But it's her life, just do what she got to do.
So you don't know her?
I don't know her, period. I don't. Never seen my whole life yet. I just say here she come back crabbing. If she brown, white, green, I don't know, can't tell you with her. But if she want to run, she catch a break, take it, grab it, both hands.
For Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. selects one of its stalwarts as interim lead in the vacant post of Head of Global Markets. Cheryl Carter, who has been with the BTMI for several years, has been appointed in the position that was held by outgoing acting BTMI Chief Executive Officer Petra Roach, whose resignation takes effect from June 30th. According to BTMI chairperson Roseanne Myers, the National Tourism Agency was pleased with Carter's performance. Carter is currently the director of the United Kingdom market. An update now on the St. Vincent and the Grenadines La Soufrière volcano. Director of the University of the West Indies Seismic Research Center, Dr. Urosula Joseph, says seismic activity at the volcano has been low after the tremor associated with the explosion and ash venting on April 22nd. She gave the update in Monday's evening bulletin, saying that experts continue to closely monitor the volcano, which remains on red alert.
In the last 24 hours, only a few long-period hybrid and volcanic tectonic earthquakes have been recorded, and there were no further tremor. An observation flight took place today, however, poor visibility obscured much of the crater during this time. No dome was visible, although a spine could be seen through the clouds, with white steam seen venting near continuously from several locations on the crater floor. The volcano continues to erupt, with its pattern of seismic activity over the last few days being typical of the growth of a lava dome. Explosions with accompanying ashfall of similar or larger magnitude can restart with little or no warning.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To developments in our region, Bermuda implements new policies at its borders as the country continues in its bid to curb the spread of COVID-19 cases. In an address to the nation, Premier David Burt announced that flights originating in Brazil, South Africa, and India will be banned.
With immediate effect, no flight originating in Brazil, India, or South Africa will be landed in Bermuda. Any arriving passenger who has traveled to those countries within the previous 14 days will be mandatorily quarantined for 14 days, subject to electronic monitoring to ensure compliance. We know that coronavirus variants will continue to originate from other countries, and we must also take proactive steps to protect our community from those to come. Therefore, as of Sunday, May 2nd, all non-immunized travelers entering Bermuda will be required to quarantine for 4 days, pending a negative day 4 test. This is in line with the current policy for travelers arriving from the United Kingdom. These measures, however, will not be enough, and further steps are needed to ensure that we keep new dangerous variants out of Bermuda. Therefore, effective June 6, the following changes will come into effect. The time period for a pre-test required for visitors to obtain a travel authorization will move from 5 days to 3 days, in line with the global standard. All non-immunized travelers entering Bermuda will be subject to supervised quarantine for 14 days in a designated facility at their own expense.
And finally, the international community steps in to assist India, which is battling a devastating wave of COVID-19 infections. More in this report from France 24.
These boxes on their way to India contain a life-saving cargo. Britain sent 600 pieces of medical equipment over the weekend, including ventilators, to help New Delhi face a spiralling coronavirus crisis.
We want to provide them all the support because they're close friends, increasingly important partners.
It comes after the Indian government called for international help in fighting the pandemic. Hospitals have run out of beds and oxygen to treat the growing numbers of seriously ill coronavirus patients, amid record-breaking infection rates of over 300,000 people a day. Canada, France and Germany said they'll send help. And after a request from New Delhi, the European Commission has activated its EU Civil Protection Mechanism, which will also send oxygen and medicine. The US backtracked after initially blocking the exports of raw ingredients for making vaccines to India, amid growing outcry both at home and abroad. The US State Department said it would be sending PPE and ventilators.
Just as India sent assistance to the United States as our hospitals were strained early in the pandemic, The United States is determined to help India in its time of need.
Though India is already in dire straits, the worst is yet to come. The peak of COVID infections is not expected to hit until mid-May, when it could reach 500,000 new cases daily.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.